Good evening and welcome to live coverage of the RWB International Constructors Championship, live from Circuit of the Americas this evening. I am Rob Lomas and once again I will be guiding you through tonight's races. Yes, we have more than one race tonight, as I'm sure you'll be absolutely delighted to hear. We actually have, it's the round where we have two shorter 35-minute races instead of the one 70-minute race, which we have normally had during the championship so far. Excuse me. Currently looking at Hugo Gomez in the Audi R8. Excuse me, so currently in P17 at the moment. 2.4 seconds behind the pole position time, which has been set by who else? Radek Schuller, as usual. There's Damien Wilk in the Lamborghini. Currently Radek Schuller almost a full second clear of Crawford Brown in second, Nigel Wood in third, so good strong showing from Ferrari so far. Then Eddie Warden, who has, with 1 minute and 40 seconds to go, is currently running a ridiculously impressive P4 in the big Nissan GTR. Absolutely bludgeoned that thing around here because it's not the most manoeuvrable car in the world, not the smallest car. So very, very good job from him. Todor Kostadinov, again, a very good job so far, currently in P5 at the moment in the Jägermeister liveried BMW M4 GT3. Throwback to the old Group 5 320 of the late 1970s, that. And then it's Ian Mackey in P6 for Porsche, ahead of Nathaniel Shirley in the Lexus. Robe in 8th in the Audi, car number 13. Kurt Hodgson in 9th in Lexus, car number 69. And Hahn in 10th in another BMW M4 GT3. Currently looking at Tom Shipston at the moment in 11th place. Just behind Shipston currently is Damien Wilk, Patrick Nemesovsky, Magnus Dahlgren, Jakob Tarantino, Damien Lowe in 16th place there in the Audi. Xavier Eugeni, Hugo Gomez, Miko Sky and Mad Al rounding out the top 10. Peter Varga currently in P21, ahead of Chris Brook and Tarantovic, rounding out the top 23 on the timing totem. Still a little bit of time to go in qualifying. This drive's just returning to the pits. There's Dave Crew in 22nd place now in the McLaren. Tarantovic, Max Haynes in 25th, Johnny Lenz 26th, Kevin Shepherd 27th, and Matt Sherblum in 28th place. Checkered flag waving here at the exit, at the end of qualifying, excuse me, as Crawford Brown comes onto the back straight in car number 3, Ferrari 488 GT3, in his trademark bright yellow. The car that has since been superseded by the 296 GT3, which is a very, very pretty looking car indeed, and one which has had a phenomenal amount of interest actually in real life, to the point where Ferrari are pretty much being forced into building them as quickly as possible, because they've had well over 200 orders come in for the new 296 GT3. So a very, very successful car sales-wise. We'll see how things go when it hits the track in anger. Of course, it already has raced at the Rolex 24, although the Rolex 24 being right at the beginning of the year and also the first race for the car meant it didn't have the most competitive BOP in the world, but there's no doubt that that can and will change at some point. Also, the engineering on the new 296 is absolutely phenomenal. I highly recommend looking at the article Race Car Engineering have done on that car, because a lot of there's a lot of stuff and a lot of ideas that have actually trickled down through the hypercar program, in fact, to make their way into the GT car to make it easier to fix, easier for the engineers, easier for the mechanics. Very, very fascinating indeed. So we'll do a quick rundown of the grid for you while we're just in the little break we have between qualifying and race one. It's Radek Schuller on pole from Crawford Brown with Nigel Wood in second alongside Eddie Warden. Tadej Kostadinov is an impressive fifth for BMW ahead of Ian Mackey in the Porsche. And it's the two Lexuses, as my esteemed colleague Jeremy Shaw would say. Nathaniel Shirley and Tom Shipston on row 4. Then it's Robe and Kurt Hodgson rounding out the top 10. Harney's in 11th place ahead of Damian Vilk in 12th. Patrick Nemtsovsky and Magnus Dahlgren are on row 7 ahead of Jakob Tarantino and Damien Lowe on row 8. Xavier Eugeni and Hugo Gomez are on row 9 with Chris Brook and Miko Sky rounding out the top 20. Mad Al is in 21st place ahead of Peter Varga and Crew is in 23rd. And that's as far as I can see at the moment on my end here. Look at Nigel Wood in the grey Ferrari 2-3. You can see on the right hand side at the front Radek Schuller on pole position. There's the big BMW M4 in the background, and I'll say big because it is quite sizable actually compared to even the much memed M8 GTE, which it might not be returning to Le Mans this year after the Valkenhorst team won the Asian Le Mans series at the weekend. Valkenhorst being one of the teams BMW give a bit of extra backing to for some of the longer endurance races, such as the Spa 24 Hours, Nürburgring 24 Hours. And so there is a slight chance they might be able to talk BMW into letting them borrow one of the big M8s as part of their entry into the GT class at Le Mans this year, which is the prize for winning the GT3 class in the Asian Le Mans series. So we'll see what happens with that when the time comes. Been a good championship out in the Middle East this year. Have to give a mention to the young Argentine driver Nico Verone, though, who, upon leaving Dubai to head to Abu Dhabi, took a wrong turning and ended up driving for 150 kilometres, almost 100 miles, in completely the wrong direction. Before realising, I'm not seeing any signs for Abu Dhabi. Oh, wait, no, never mind. That's actually the other way. So had to hot-foot it the now 300 kilometres back to Yas Marina to actually get to the track in time. So, yep, fair play, mate. GG, WP, etc., as I'm sure the kids say these days. Well, I think that's what they say. I mean, getting a bit old to try and keep up with the lingo and that, and I'm only 25, so yeah. Oh, God, I'm making myself feel much older than I actually am, but there we are. Just waiting for the session to start, which it does now. And the field move away from the temporary starting positions here to give them a little bit of time to get, well, some form of heat into brakes and tyres. Not going to be getting an awful lot, so only 2 corners here. Of course, track limits, something to definitely keep an eye on in this race, given that this is a very modern, very wide circuit. On board with Kostadinov right now as we come up towards the start-finish line. And the lights go green for race 1 here at Cota. Come on. There we go, the lights go green now. Good, clean looking start from everyone so far. Now the big question is, are they all going to make it through turn 1 in one piece? No. Yeah, well, that's that answer then. I think that was Hahn involved in there, hitting one of the Lexuses, and there's all manner of carnage going on in the background. So the field head down through turn 2 into the S's here for the first time. Supposed to be modelled on the Maggots Beckett's Chapel sequence of corners at Silverstone. I think that's Shipston, who's been involved in that there. There's Damien Lowe. Oh, a little bit of contact with the Mercedes and Max Haynes there, I think that was. Lowe in the Audi, currently still in P17. There's another Mercedes there, which goes through. So Lowe's dropped down to P18. Now we're looking at Jakob Tarantino in the Lamborghini. Got the Ferrari and Magnus Dahlgren right behind him, currently the battle for P8 at the moment. Heading down the hill into this tight corner before the back straight. Very wide entry, so there's multiple lines you could take. There's also the Lexus of Hodgson there as well. There's Hugo Gomez in the Audi battling away with the Lamborghini of Damien Vilk. Eugenie, I think, might have dropped a couple of places, perhaps. Maybe not, because I think that is definitely the Ferrari there in front. So I do apologise. Eugenie is currently up is still in P11, and Gomez has dropped down to P13. There's Ian Mackey in the Porsche, currently in P5 at the moment. Through this twisty infield section, supposedly mimicked on the stadium section at Hockenheim, only much worse. It's much slower and tight and just absolute pain to drive. Coming through this long right-hander now, modelled after the turn 8 left-hander at Istanbul Park. Getting into this fairly quick penultimate corner now. When the Mazda MX-5 Cup raced here. Used to be fantastic racing. There's Warden and Mackie side by side. Great batting between them. Plenty of racing room left. Coming side by side down the pit straight now. The big power of the Nissan means Warden, can pull away a little bit on the straight. Mackie's going to have a little look up the inside into turn 1. Is he going to get the job done? Just about able to get the rotation there nicely. Warden's got the inside for the next corner though, which is a right-hander, and Warden is able to hold on to P4. Mackie's going to tough it out around the outside and head into the S's now. They're still side by side, and Mackie just about packs out of it in time before there's a properly big accident. The first part of those S's is rather quick, I should add, before it gets slower and tighter from there on. See, heading down into second gear for that part of it there. Heading now on the run down the hill towards the back straight. Is Dirk Gretschel up in P23 in the Nissan GTR at the moment. Dirk, I think, started actually plumb last in the field. Doing a good job so far. Got a lot more experience actually Dirk has with racing experience, and has had quite a bit of success on that game, so he could be one to keep an eye on, even in a car which might be a little bit more unfamiliar to him. So I'll keep an eye on his progress for you. Shirley has dropped down to P21, so I think he might have been involved in the incident on the opening lap as well. Getting out of this Mickey Mouse Stadium section. There's Shirley battling away with the Audi of Robert. Shirley moving up into P20. Damage on some of these cars indicates that there might have been a fair few people involved in more than just one incident on the opening lap. Unfortunately, there's Hugo Gomez in 12th place in the number 14 Audi. Passing away with Xavier Eugenie in the Triarci Ferrari. Heading out of the final corner now, down the pit straight here. Of course, I'm not mentioning any corner names as such, because there sort of aren't any particularly named corners. It's turn 1, turn 2. Gomez having a look around the outside there. Able to get the job done. This is bringing Damien Vilk into the equation in the Lamborghini. And heading into the S's now, but yeah, as I was saying, it's like a lot of these modern day circuits, not just Tilcadromes admittedly, but others as well, blighted by this disease of sorts where there aren't no properly named corners. It's just turn 1, turn 2, turn 3, etc, etc, so on and so forth, which is quite annoying, it has to be said. On board with Magnus Dahlgren now. Radek Schiller with the fastest lap of the race as the pit window is now open. Heading down the back straight. You can see Kurt Hodgson there in the Lexus in the background. Ready to maybe have a little look up the inside. Maybe Nova's a little bit closer actually. Could have got the job done there, but Dahlgren holding on massively. On board with Eugenie, battling away with Gomez and Vilk, and Tom Shipston's joining in the fun as well now in the Lexus. There's 4 cars here. Not a lot separating them. Vilk maybe dropping back just a tiny bit compared to Gomez. But then again, very strong in the final sector by the looks of things is the Lamborghini. On board now with Nigel Wood in the Ferrari, car number 77. Heading up the hill now, braking relatively late given it's such a tight hairpin, but then again because of the gradient you really can get within that. There's Gomez, Shirley and Vilk all coming to pits, presumably aiming for an early pit stop so they can get a bit of clean air, clean track in front of them. There's Seb Tarantovic in the Lamborghini, past the Nissan of Dirk Gretschel. Hahn has also come into the pits, as has Kevin Shepherd. Of course, because it's only a 35-minute race, only 1 mandatory pit stop is needed, and then it'll all be reset for the second race. Whereas with the longer 70-minute races, then you have to make 2 mandatory pit stops. So there is still an element of strategy as to when one decides to take one's mandatory pit stop in this race. Of course, you also, by pit stop, I should add, sorry, the definition of that is you have to refuel the car. However, even putting only 1 litre of fuel in is enough to count as having refueled the car. So, therefore, that's why a lot of drivers, I think, are going to aim for that strategy in this race and the next race as well. Still looking at Dahlgren. In the Ferrari, there's Maddow in the McLaren 720. Oh, it should be quite quick around here, very twisty, big braking zones. Should suit the McLaren quite nicely, I'd have thought. There's Max Haynes right behind him. Looking at Damien Lowe battling away with Chris Brook, and in the NSX there, just in front of him is Varga in the Mercedes. Crew is a bit further back. Xavier Eugenie into the pits this time around. Battle still raging on between Ian Mackey and Eddie Warden. Mackey in the dark green Porsche, Warden in the red and black Nissan. So Damien Lowe also comes into the pits this time around. There's Gianni Lenz in 21st place now in the white and purple Mercedes AMG GT3 Evo. Heading up through turn 1 now as Eddie Warden and Ian Mackey continue their battle for P4. Just over 25 minutes to go in the race, just over 20 minutes to go in the pit window. Heading out onto the back straight now, where the Nissan should pull away a few cars lengths. On the trackside adverts is advertisement hoardings is on the circuit, so a little bit of extra plugging for CrowdStrike, I believe it was. On the brakes for the start of the stadium section, which really is an absolute nightmare to drive around. It's a very polarising circuit, to be fair, this one. It's one which you either really enjoy driving or one which you absolutely detest driving around. No prizes for guessing what my faults are. on board with Radixcher at the moment, up the hill into turn 1. Hard on brakes, turns in. Good exit out of there. Down the hill into turn 2. Going into this fast starting sequence of S's. There's Dirk Gretschel back in front of Gianni Lenz. Gretschel in the 102 Nissan, Lenz in the number 7 Mercedes as Maddow and Seb both coming to the pits. So there's a big bag going. Oh, Gretschel having a really big moment there over the sausage curbs on the exit of the final corner, getting all 4 wheels off the ground even. It will be a vertebra feeling moment. Turns out stiffly sprung racing cars plus sausage curbs equals getting airborne and a bit of discomfort for the driver, it must be said. So Warden now closing in on Nigel Wood. Wood currently in P3 at the moment, Warden in P4. There's the green Porsche in the background of Ian Mackey. The bright orange BMW in the background is that of Todor Kostadinov, number 83. You just see the, just barely make out Nemtsovsky's McLaren in the background there. Ward really closing in on the Ferrari there and the big old Nissan GTR. Still with Warden trying to close the gap a little bit further. He's not quite close enough to be able to make a move, but he is getting there. It has to be said, there's Varga in the Mercedes with crew right behind him in the McLaren. I'm just about to see Robe's Audi there in the background, and the bright pink object in the back of shot is Max Haynes in the Mercedes as crew dives into the pits this time around. Varga staying out, Robe also staying out, there's Hayes staying out as well. Just about to see Chris Brooks' Honda there in the foreground, dark red car. There's Dahlgren in the Ferrari. Going through the S's now with Nemtsovsky and Hodgson right behind him in very close pursuit, actually, it must be said. And through this technical section of track here. There's Varga battling away. Oh, he's on the marbles a little bit there. Got the inside for the next turn. Robe going to have to really bide his time as the S's aren't properly an overtaking opportunity, it has to be said. There's Mikko Sky in the 777 Porsche, currently in 29th place at the moment as crew comes out of the pits. Daniel Hill currently in P19, the highest placed of the drivers to have pitted at the moment. There's Jacob Tarantino in the Lamborghini. 22, heading through this stadium section of sorts. You can see the dirt bit on the inside. It's part of the rallycross layout, I think, if I remember correctly. There's Monk's Road, car number 13 in 14th place. Slightly nicer if him and Varga were both one place higher, so car 12 was P12 and car 13 was P13, but alas, that's not the case right now. Heading through the right hand into the penultimate corner now. Track limits are an issue here. There was a Mazda, I don't think it was Mazda MX-5 Cup, so it was the Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge, I think, once raced here on the support bill for IMSA and 1 year, and they ended up in racing on a circuit which was held in the same location as Circuit of the Americas, and it did bear some resemblance to Circuit of the Americas. I mean, it might not have been the actual circuit itself because everyone was so far off the circuit. But yeah, it goes to show just how easy it is to fall foul of track limits and why they need to be so strictly enforced, as Wood has just lost third place there to Eddie Warden. And that their battling has allowed Ian Mackey to catch up as well in the Porsche. Kostadinov dropping back just a few seconds on this little battle. On the 77, grey Ferrari with the blue and red stripes on it, as Monk's Road has a drive-through penalty, in fact, for, well, speaking of track limits, funny enough, I talk about track limits for long enough, and someone gets a drive-through penalty for repeated track limits infringements. This shows just how easy it is to do here at Cota. There's Nemcovski's got Tarantino he's racing with. Tarantino trying to have a little look around the outside. Quite able to get the job done though, but he is well within range of Nemcovski. Into either of these two are going to pit, but either way, Tarantino looks like he might be close enough to maybe have a little crack into turn one perhaps. There's Maddow in the McLaren. Number of cars off the circuit being lapped. As actually both Nemcovski and Tarantino come into the pits, completely invalidates my argument. Max Haynes there with a drive-through penalty as well for track limits. Varga also into the pits. The mandatory pit stop. Maddow still holding off Damien Lowe at the moment. Battle for P22. Can't really speak much about track limits towards the top of the field, because the highest start timing totem goes at the moment is P7, which is where Dahlgren is. Marcus Dahlgren in the Ferrari. So we'll wait and see if anyone else gets a drive-through penalty, but I'd wait. We've already had a couple so far. We're not even before the halfway mark of this race, so bring it on. Looking at Nigel Wood in fourth place. Indeed, it is only Hayes and Robe in the top 10 with or top 11, excuse me, with a drive-through. Still Schuller with the fastest lap of the race. Wood coming into the pits now. This is going to be crucial for Ian Mackey. Ian decides to pit next time around. He needs to deliver a big lap indeed right now to try and get the undercut. Hodgson also in from P8. Now Tom Shipson up into P8. In the Lexus, car with a lot of success here in America. Likes of the Aim Vassar Sullivan team in the IMSA WebTech Sports Car Championship, both in the GTD class and latterly in GTD Pro as well. Rowe comes into the pits. I don't know if he's serving, doing a full service, if he's just serving his drive-through penalty, but that remains to be seen. On board Johnny Lenz up into P9 now. Wood and Hodgson both made their pit stops. You can tell when drivers made a pit stop, by the way, because the little orange rectangle next to the car number and with the number 1 in it actually disappears. It just becomes a green blob. That was Rowe taking his drive-through penalty, so he still has to make his full service. now we are looking at Matt Sherblum comes into the pits. There's Nathaniel Shirley up into P23. Coming through the S's now. There's 10 minutes left on the pit window. Max Haynes, I think, will have to come into the pits fairly soon to serve his drive-through penalty. Johnny Lenz, currently P9, Dirk Gretschel P10. All of whom bound to make up some time as a result of this. And Ian Mackey is into the pits now. This is going to be quite big to see whether he comes out ahead of Nigel Wood or not. It remains to be seen. That does. Tom Shipson also in from P7. There's Dirk Gretschel up into P10 in the Nissan GTR. You can see Wood in the Ferrari right there with him. This is a key moment in this battle between Wood and Mackey. Mackey is showing something coming out as having done his pit stop now. Gretschel just losing the position there to Nigel Wood. Looking at Peter Varga here battling away with the Audi of Hugo Gomez. These two teammates, despite driving different cars. Max Haynes in the pits to serve his drive-through penalty. Now heading up towards the final corner once more. There's Dirk Gretschel at the top of the hill there. And indeed, Mackey and Shipson have both managed to get out of the pits ahead of Nigel Woods, I think. Just wait for the tower to update. There's Xavier Eugenie. Yeah, that's about able to hold off Chris Brook there. And indeed, Wood has lost a couple of positions in that. Very good bit of strategy there from Ian Mackey and from Tom Shipson as well, to be fair. Wood got caught up behind, it was actually stuck for a couple laps, I think, behind the Nissan of Dirk Gretschel, trying to find a way past. And that is just what Ian Mackey and Tom Shipson needed in order to get past the Ferrari. They're both of them managing to pull off the undercut absolutely brilliantly there. There's Damien Bill out behind the GTR. Coming down the back straight, you see Wood there in front. There's Shipson battling away with Gretschel. Gretschel not giving up though. Still in 10th place, and maybe gonna have a little look up the inside there to go into P9. Not quite close enough, I don't think. Eddie Warden coming into the pits now as well for P3. No sign of Gretschel, Lenz, Dahlgren, Kostadinov, Brown or Schuller coming into the pits just yet. There does remain time for that to happen. There's 6 minutes left on the pit window. There's the car just peeling off to the inside. That's Gretschel, I think. Indeed it is. So that's Damien Bilk there, now up into 10th place behind Jakob Tarantino. Don't wonder if there is going to be a little bit of team orders at play maybe at Lamborghini. Maybe not so much to ask another driver to cede the position, but maybe it's going to depend on who's lapping quicker out of Tarantino and Vilk. Johnny Lenz up in 8th place at the moment, still yet to pit, as is Max Haynes and Monks Road, although they've both been penalised for drive-through penalties. Damien Lowe's also just picked up a drive-through for track limits as well. Going to be quite rough drive-through penalty around here. It is fair to say. Currently heading down the back straight is this little battle. Now heading down back straight into the corner at the end. Vilk not quite close enough to the back of Hodgson to be able to send it up the inside and still get it stopped. I don't quite know what tyre set these drivers are on, but either way, it is quite intriguing that Vilk was not quite able to get close enough there. 9 minutes to go in the race, 4 minutes to go in the pit window. There's Damien. Currently in P12 still at the moment. Todor Kostadinov comes into the pits from P4. It's just Dahlgren, Brown and Schuller in the top three. Also Max Hayes, Monk's Road to also pit. Watching this little battle for P11, P12 so far. And heading through the S's once more. Radek Schuller having completed 12 laps so far this evening here at Circuit of the Americas in the first of 2 races in the RWB International Constructors Championship this evening. Schuller into the pits now with 2 minutes and 40 odd seconds to go. See who else comes into the pits. Crawford Brown dives in as well. There's still no sign of any more pit callers so far. There's Tom Shipston. There's Johnny Lenz and Mercedes there just in the background. Shipston running a little bit wide there. Coming into the stadium section. Kostadinov still just about ahead there in the Jägermeister BMW M4 GT3. Brooke battling away with Eugenie for P15. Heading now on board with Crawford Brown comes out to the pits. Marcus Dahlgren has also pitted, so we should be seeing Johnny Lenz and Max Haynes next time by. Damien Lowe has taken his drive-through penalty, I should add, and served it. So that's been scrubbed, the drive-through. He's dropped down the field, sadly, as a result of it. Around there, working the wheel in the Ferrari. Lenz and Haynes coming into the pits just now in the Mercedes Ziz, respectively. Up into 4th gear at the moment, and there's Kurt Hodgson in the Lexus. Hodgson through the S's here. The inferior Maggots Beckett's Chapelesque complex. This one I find doesn't quite flow quite as well as the legendary sequence of corners at Silverstone does. Hodgson still in P10, as I believe that's everyone now having made their pit stops. So it's going to be a straight race to the checkered flag in about 5 minutes' time. Radek Schuller still leading for Honda / Acura as it would be here in America. Crawford Brown 2nd, Eddie Warden 3rd, Ian Mackey 4th, Nigel Wood 5th, Todor Kostadinov 6th. Look at Kostadinov now, there's Tom Shipston in 7th, right behind him. And Dahlgren 8th, Teresino 9th, and Kurt Hodgson in 10th place. Still with Kostadinov. Number 83, the bright orange Jägermeister liveried car, holding off the black, red and white Lexus of Tom Shipston. Shipston desperately trying to find a way past to get more championship points on the board. Oh yes, despite this being the Constructors' Championship, there is still a Drivers' Championship as well. It's less important, admittedly, but it's still definitely there. Currently on board with Kostadinov once more, heading up the hill into turn 1 now. And currently looking at Kostadinov still in the BMW. It's one of the closest battles on track, actually. It's this battle between Kostadinov and Shipson. There's just 0.3 seconds in it. Gomez currently back in the pits as well. For some reason, Kostadinov just placing his BMW absolutely everywhere, parking it on the apex in much the same way that Mourinho used to park the bus back in the day. Jose Mourinho, legendary football manager, someone who's also had the unbridled delight that is managing Tottenham Hotspur. I'll say no more than that as a Spurs fan. If you know anything about football in the UK, you can probably guess what football club are. There's meanwhile Magnus Dahlgren battling away Tarantino. And it says Hodgson in the back. Tarantino just about able to hold on onto the inside. Right-hander going to send it out the inside, not quite close enough. He's right on the back of Tarantino, but at the same time, if he goes too hard, attack Kurt Hodgson and Damien Vilk a chance to get past one. Hodgson looking very racing deep, looking around the outside. 4-car battle here for P8 at the moment. Come through the penultimate corner now. It is Ferrari, Lamborghini, Lexus, Lamborghini. We're looking at Lexus of Kurt Hodgson in P10 at the moment. Having to really attack and really defend at the same time, attacking towards Dahlgren and Tarantino, defending from Damien Vilk. Hodgson quite close by this time around. They're all moving towards the middle of the pitch straight to try and break the slipstream. Is it going to work though? I don't know. Hodgson's going to have a look around the outside. Turns in ahead of Tarantino at turning point. Has the inside for the next corner as well. So both drivers move over to the right hand side to get ready for turn 2. And Hodgson is going to get the position. And Hodgson has done a very good job there, moving up into P9 ahead of Jakob Tarantino. Now it's just Magnus Dahlgren for him to try and worry about. As Dahlgren drops down to P9. So, Hodgson down to P9, so Tarantino down to P10. Tarantino's made a bit. So, coming out the S's, that's going to be enough to allow Damien Vilk through. Sovs through as well. Nemtsovsky can have a look around the outside. Tarantino also on the outside. Vilk holding on to 10th place. Tarantino losing a lot of ground. They took way too much curve on the inside, hit the stop curves there. That was enough to send all 4 wheels into the air with about a minute left on the clock here. These sprint races, it's always quite tame until the last few laps, once all the pit stops have been sorted out, and then it well and truly is a case of everything hitting the fan. There's a bit of a gap now between these two groups. The Nemtsovsky Tarantino Wilk group, that's Wilk 11th, Wilk 10th, Nemtsovsky 11th, Tarantino in 12th. Then just in front of the battle between Dahlgren and Hodgson for 8th and 9th. 20 seconds left on the clock here, so we should have one more lap here at Cota. In fact, maybe not, because I've just seen that the 9600 is just currently coming through the air system, coming up to the hairpin on the back straight. So this might be the last lap as Ian Mackey gets a drive for track limits as well. So that's going to be converted into a post-race time penalty, surely, because he doesn't really have time to make that pit stop. There's Philip Hahn in 18th place in the BMW, one of the many drivers to have taken part in this. There's Hugo Gomez in P24 in the Audi. just behind Kevin Shepherd, excuse me, just in front of Damien Lowe. Heading through this long right-hand into the penultimate left-hander. Then down on the brakes once more for the final turn. Trying to see the relative location of the 96 at the moment, which is not an easy task to do, but we'll let you know when Radek crosses the start-finish line. Kostadinov now down to 7th place in the BMW. On looking at Nemtsovsky in the McLaren. Fending nicely there from Tarantino in the Lamborghini. And the checkered flag is waved as Radek Schuller wins Circuit of the Americas. A little bit of a wait now for Crawford Brown, who has just crossed the line now, 12.4 seconds in arrears. As Eddie Warden, we're still waiting on at the moment to come through in third, which he does now. There's going to be Ian Mackey provisionally in 4th place, although I'm expecting him to drop down the order somewhat, as he has a 30-second time penalty, which, oh crikey, this means I have to do maths now. Do stand by. As Kurt Hodgson also gets a drive-through penalty converted to 30 seconds on the final corner of the final lap, as Dahlgren and Mackey and, oh, there's Alexis involved as well. The ceremonial crashing occurs. So I make that Mackey dropping down to, let's see, Mackey should still be in the top 20, I'd imagine. Not sure about where Kurt Hodgson's going to drop down to. Kurt Hodgson's going to be outside of the top 20. But Ian Mackey in the Porsche, I think, has done enough to stay in the top 20 despite that. Behind him, it's Nigel Wood 5th, Shipston 6th, Kostadinov 7th, Dahlgren 8th, Hodgson 9th, provisionally. Wilkin 10th, Nemtsovsky 11th, Tarantino 12th, Brook 13th, Eugenie 14th, Varga 15th, Al 16th, Shirley 17th, Hahn 18th, Crew 19th, Lyons 20th, Max Haynes 21st, Gretschel 22nd, Gomez 23rd, Shepherd 24th, and Lowe in 25th. As the session has now ended, so Mackey's actually dropped down to P13 and Hodgson down to P17 by the looks of things. Tarantovitz still on track. There's Matt Sherblum crossing the line there as well. Been a thoroughly entertaining opening race here at Circuit of the Americas. And now we just wait for the field to get ready for the start of the second of 2 races here at Cota. Varga, interestingly, not shown as being in the pits at the moment. So I shall be back in a sec. Just going to get a quick drink, and I will be right back in a moment. And I have returned after getting a very quick drink of water. So I'm joined in the commentary with Dowse, who I noticed at the end of the first race was down in P30, I think. So, evening, mate. Yeah, so not 100% sure what happened there. We've still got just about a minute or so to go before the start of race 2 here at Cota. The in-game time is showing 6 o'clock in the evening. I don't quite know what's on here, as to whether it's going to be a night race or what, or a twilight race similar to how the World Endurance Championship was back in the day. Oh, and Marco has just departed the commentary box, I think. Yeah, the World Endurance Championship back in the day used to be a day into night race. They have the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship race, or well, Tudor United Sports Car Championship race as it was, in the afternoon. Then a couple of hours break to reconfigure the entire pit lane to get rid of all the concrete blocks that were needed for the US-style pits, and return it to how the pit garages are, and then the lot would be out for the remainder of the afternoon/evening. Field once again making their way round the last couple of turns. And getting ready for start of race 2. Same grid positions as last time. Now, are we actually going to get around turn 1 this time without crashing into each other? I don't quite know, and I see that Marco Badowski has indeed rejoined me in the box. And good evening as the race goes green. Are we going to be getting around turn 1 that is
just about
just about, yes, at least no one's actually pointing in about 90 degrees perpendicular to the racetrack this time, although I think someone may
there
have
are a few people at the very back.
Yeah, there have been a few people at the back, as is always the way at turn 1 here. There's Damien Vilk taking a slightly different line through the S's, it's fair to say, in the Lamborghini. So yeah, very difficult circuit to drive. Not that I know anything about driving, because I'm absolutely terrible at it. That's why you all have to deal with listening to me talk about it. But thankfully, we do have someone in here who can drive. Thankfully, so yes, Marco being infinitely better at the driving than I am. I think it is very, very fair to say. Still looking at Vilk at the moment, and as I say that, looking at Gomez, as there's a off in the background there involving, let's see, I think it might have been, I can't quite work out unfortunately who that was in the background. It was just zooming, heading out of focus as we were on board there. There's Varga in the Mercedes. A bit rough over exit curbs there, I think. Heading into this long right-hander, coming up towards the penultimate corner now. If you watch the IndyCar races here, you'll see them about to basically taking the line Varga has just taken. Yeah, oh, there's a big off there in front of him, but literally directly in front of him, involving, I think that was Tarantino involved, and then Sofsky involved. By the way, Varga is up to 17th. Actually, no, excuse me, so that might have been Tarantovic, I think. not 100% sure. There's Hahn in P12 in the Valkenhorst BMW. Coming through the S's once more. Damien under a bit of pressure from Hugo Gomez in the Audi. Battle of the VAG brands, Audi and Lamborghini. Both with very similar mechanical parts, but with different aero as well, especially now with the new Evo 2 version of the Huracan GT3 having a sort of almost Honda NSX style ram air scope intake thing mounted on the roof of the car. So that's why they introduced it on the Huracan STO, even though the STO on that car it did absolutely nothing. I should add, it was just there purely for decoration, and so they could run it on the racing car. It's similar to what Honda did back in the 2005, I think it was, with the NSX GT. They did something very similar, just they could run that massive triangle-shaped air intake on the roof of the GT500 car, because of course the NSX being mid-engined, unlike the Lexus SC430 and the Nissan Z33, the 350Z. There's Xavier Eugenie in P26 at the moment, car number 15 in the Triossi liveried Ferrari, a car from GT World Challenge America, I think. Not 100% sure. May have to Google that one later. And yes, you did hear that right, me threatening to use Google.
You're using Google? That's quite out of date nowadays. You're not using ChatGPT?
Oh, I mean, true. To be fair, I could use ChatGPT. Oh, actually, that's given me an idea. That's given me an idea now for the championship. Oh, should I do that? Get the pre-race intro written using ChatGPT. Oh, things I probably shouldn't be saying live. Things I probably shouldn't be saying live in case any of the shit. Never mind, I already have. It is indeed that time of night where things happen. So yes, looks like. But no, ChatGPT may be in use fairly soon for the endurance championship. Ooh, there's a bit of a moment. One of the Mercedes is there. Maybe. I'm not 100% sure. I went on board with Kurt Hodgson in the battling away with Monk's Road in the Audi, and both drivers trying not to repeat what happened in the first race, where they drive through penalties. And yes, which in the case of Hodgson proved very costly indeed, as he managed to get his final track limits warning on the final corner of the final lap, which is the absolute definition of Spain, but the S is silence, as Kurt Hodgson dives into the pit lane there as the pit window is now open. He's got Damien Vilk joining him there in car number 21 Lamborghini. Emsovsky also in the McLaren. The earlier pit stop tactic didn't seem to work for some drivers last time around. I seem to recall Nigel Wood getting losing a couple of positions actually to the likes of Ian Mackey and one or two others after getting stuck in traffic. Although Cota, there are a couple of places where you can make a position up fairly easily, I think, due to the way it's been designed. So if we stick with this heli cam shot here, which I am hoping we are, we aren't. So on board with Gomez. So actually this might work. So Eden's on the approach to the corner here to try and allow multiple lines on the way into the corner. It's the same actually up at turn 1 as well, which is why there's often so many incidents at that corner. The fact it's also on a massive uphill gradient really doesn't actually help.
Yeah, the thing about turn 1 is like the entry to turn 1 is very wide, but it narrows down on the exit, so if you have a multiple wide situation, it can happen more quickly than you expect, that one person gets pushed right to the curbs, to the sausage curbs, and so on. But here in this sector, like especially the last sector, it lends itself very good to racing, because like you can do multiple switchbacks and get alongside each other and have lines where you can take the shortest path to the apex, or like take a wider approach to get the best exit out of the corner to re-attack the guy in front of you.
Yeah, it does strike me this place as a track that seems considerably better for racing around than it is to actually drive around. Something designed by Herman Tilke, something. Yeah, not all of Tilke's tracks are bad, of course. There have been some proper, almost modern classics over the years, like Istanbul, like Sepang, but then again, there are some which just make you want to absolutely rip your hair out.
I mean, I have a very unpopular opinion on this, but I actually like Cota. The only problem with that is the bumpiness of the track, especially the braking zone into turn 1. It's very easy to lose your rear end going into there.
Because one thing I did read is I've just noticed Gretchen's been disqualified actually for some reason, but one thing I remember reading when there was talks about bringing back the Dutch Grand Prix is that there were talks, maybe we could have it at Assen, and then all of the MotoGP riders went, no, you're right, thanks, because the sheer downforce from the F1 cars back in 2017 to 2021 was such that it meant that tracks that are on both MotoGP and F1's calendars, like Silverstone and like Catalonia, were having to be resurfaced every 3 years or so just to get rid of all the bumps, so it was a bit safer for the bikes. So it really is a bit of a double-edged sword, almost, having both FIM Grade A and Grade A, and FIA Grade 1 license. I was getting a bit mixed up there between the two for a moment, as Ian Mackey in the Porsche battling away with Eddie Warden through the final. Warden just hoping he can actually hold on until pit straight, where the big Nissan can maybe pull away a tiny bit, or usually about 2 or 3 cars lengths. That thing's able to pull away by. There's Damien Vilk in the Lamborghini, battling away with Monks Road in the Audi. His drivers have all pitted, by the way. There's a Lexus getting involved in there as well. That's Kurt Hodgson, who's just lost the place actually to Vilk. You can see Tarantino there as well. Oh, bit of contact there between Hodgson and Hahn in car number 35 of Alkenhorst BMW. Tarantovic into the pits now. Max Haynes getting involved in separate battle, in fact, with Mad Al and I was going to say Xavier Eugeni, but that's not Eugeni, that's Hahn's BMW there, I believe, and Eugeni just in behind. Hodgson's actually just been given a drive-through penalty for track limits again. Yeah, something, modern circuit, something, plenty of tarmac runoff area, something, car X warning for track limits, something, meme involving John Watson. It's probably the easiest way to describe it. See also that year where they didn't bother with track at the Spa 24 Hours a few years back. Not like anyone.
It was 2020 because of the lack of stewards due to the COVID pandemic at the time.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it was actually also at the weekend where the, at least in Belgium, the clock was set back by 1 hour, and there was a discussion whether you should actually have a 25-hour race on that weekend, but I think that idea got scratched.
That would have been hilarious. So effectively we were watching a 20 and sort of maybe kind of. So, yes, it was a very fun weekend, and I'll say that there's some people in this commentary box who might be going to that race later this year. It's going to be a fun weekend for sure. Given that I've done the World Endurance at Silverstone, but not a proper 24-hour race, so this is going to be a absolute carnage, probably. Max Haynes just getting past Terentovic there. So that might have been Kevin Shepherd, excuse me, instead of Hahn in the Lexus. Actually, the closer I look, yeah, it does look a bit more Lexus-like than BMW. Shepherd just losing a position or two, showing as being in 25th, so no, that is actually timing totem is a little bit slow to update sometimes. There is Tom Shipston in the Lexus. Setting quite consistent lap times at the moment. Last lap only been a few tenths or so of his...
Oh, you might be going for something now?
Oh yeah, you might be. Oh, as close. I'm not quite close enough, I don't think, to be able to force it up the inside without getting done by the stewards for a dive bomb on Kostadinov in the Jägermeister BMW. If he manages to stay close enough through this final sector, he might be able to have a look at turn one. Haynes dropping back a little bit from Terentovic. I do wonder if that is because of the nature of the first section, just how aero-laden these GT3s are these days. Damien Lowe doing a fantastic job, actually, just moved up into P10 ahead of Peter Varga and Mikko Sky. Neither of these three have pitted yet, but Damien doing a cracking job indeed in the number 97 Audi. A real confidence boost for Damien, for whom it is some absolutely ridiculous hour of the morning in Singapore. It is
how early is it? I think it's 5 a.m.
It's 8 hours from the UK, so it's coming up to, I think it's coming up to 6 o'clock in the morning here at the moment. So if I was sim racing at 6 o'clock in the morning, I would get an absolute bollocking from my parents. Be like, "Why are you awake? Can you like not keep us awake?" No. So yeah,
I can't even wake up at that time of the day for work. Nevertheless, proper sim racing.
I mean, the amount of times I've had to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to try and get the first train into London, which I used to have to do sometimes to get to if there was engineering works or something other happening, in order to actually get to London in time for the NLS on occasion, back when it was still called VLN, was, I've done the 454 more times than I probably want to admit. That was early. So yeah, the joys of covering international motorsport. You don't quite know what time your shifts are going to be, although still not as bad as the Rome Formula E in Rome, where they for some reason have practice one on at 7 o'clock local time in the morning, so that's 6 a.m. for us in the UK, plus getting up half an hour early to get everything set up is 5:30 start, and it is not fun, that.
Yeah, I don't know. It's quite inconvenient that for Formula E races they try to run the entire weekend on one day.
Yeah, I think there have been threats from one journalist to do a Jacques Lafitte, what he did at the 1984 US Grand Prix in Dallas, and actually rock up to the circuit in pyjamas, given how early it is. So I don't think Sam. Yeah, but yeah, given the Rome E-Prix is going to be in the middle of July, that probably isn't going to be a bit. Matt Sherblum in the pits, as is Peter Varga. Eddie Warden's actually just lost fourth place to Ian Mackey. None of whom have been pinged for track limits during the race. There's Dave Crew in the McLaren. He's running in 19th, just going past Sherblum, who's in the pits. Yeah, one thing I have noticed about Formula E this year is that pretty much every race weekend we've had at least one practice session on the day before. So that I think they have started to get the message that maybe having no track action on the first day and then everything on the second day might be slightly beneficial. Although it does mean that, well, partially means we don't have to get up so early, which is always nice. Yeah, Berlin E-Prix from Spandau to Tempelhof, that was a fairly disgustingly early start from memory, but then again, I'm the sort of person who just booked the hotel in Spandau because, well, it's on the U-Bahn map, so... Oh, bit of a moment for Max Haynes there. Losing position to Tarantovic. Yeah, thankfully there are some good coffee shops in Berlin at some of the stations on the U-Bahn, so I was able to at least walking to the circuit. Tarantino battling away with Vilk.
Finally, a same brand battle between the two Lamborghinis. Don't think that's happened so far, at least not that I can remember this season, that we had a proper fight between like brand colleagues, or in this case Raccoon colleagues.
Yeah, you're right. I don't think it has happened. I mean, obviously we don't know about Silverstone because there was the stream PC wasn't feeling 100%, so we never actually. So that's why we the first live stream was actually round 2 of the championship, because we didn't actually have a stream PC for the first round, and I couldn't have streamed it on my laptop because my laptop is 5 years old and can probably just about run stuff from 10 years ago. ACC not so much. So yeah, we don't know about Silverstone, but certainly in terms of what's been stream, it has been the first, I think.
Oh, I can remember something. On the first route in Silverstone, the first race, there was quite a battle between Schuller and Erdmann from the Honda team between each other for the second place of that race.
Yes, Erdmann having had to unfortunately miss a couple of rounds as Guy gets drive-through for track limits. Erdmann was taking part at Kyalami, if I remember correctly, as well. Has decided to skip this race in the NSX. Oh, I thought there was going to be a little bit of contact there between. But Tarantino able to hold on. He's got the this.
But he might receive the switch back now.
Yeah, which he does. Now he's going to
Schaefer doesn't close the door properly. Now he has to go wide. And he goes way too wide and loses another position by doing so.
Yeah, that was hard in the 35W moving up into place. Of course, one could put in the argument that Monksrobe is driving a nearly identical car to Jakob Tarantino and Damien Vilk. I mean, is it an Audi with a Lamborghini body kit? Is it a Lamborghini? Who knows? But either way, it's got the same engine, drivetrain. Most of the oily mechanical bits are the same.
Yeah, to be fair, but they handle quite differently, in my opinion. I've done a bunch of driving in the Lamborghini for endurance races and in the Audi for this Constructor Championship season. I feel like your Lamborghini, especially from the anti-roll bars, you need to drive them way stiffer in order to get pace out of the car. Because like if you leave them on, like, let's say on a more safer scale, for the lack of better words, you just understeer everywhere, but then you put them stiffer to get more pace and rotation out of the car, and then it suddenly, with the snap of the finger, it gets very hard to control it. That's how I feel about the car.
And this is why you're a racing driver and I'm not. As we were talking about, as if it was timed as such, Tarantino's being given a drive-through for, you guessed it, track limits. As is always the way. There's Todor Kostadinov, stuck behind a Mercedes. Now not stuck behind a Mercedes, because he is now stuck on the side of the pit lane speed limiter, because he's coming for his pit stop. It's Philip Hahn battling away with Tarantino. Battling quite hard, I should say. Yeah, I'm surprised Hahn hasn't been given the message yet that Tarantino does have a drive-through penalty. There's not that much point in battling him, although then again he does have quite a quick-looking Audi in Monk's Road right behind him, so I can understand why he wants to get a bit of a wriggle on, but either way, Tarantino is going to be coming into the pits fairly soon, in the next couple of laps, I'd imagine. His drive-through, he's already pitted for his stop, and there he goes into the pit lane. Of course, the thing which I'd do at this point is probably end up accidentally speeding in the pit lane and get a stop and go plus 30 on top of that. Yeah.
Or just crash into the pit wall because you're entering at too high speed. Can also happen quite easily.
As somebody who's totally never done that while go-kart once, yeah, I can confirm that isn't possible.
You've done that in go-karting, was it painful?
No, I just forgot to. I didn't turn the steering wheel quite as much as I needed to. I mean, I wanted to get out of the car, quickly run to the vending machine, grab a Coca-Cola, and then get back in the car. The trouble I had is that being really skinny when I was younger, even with a seat insert, it wasn't actually. There was still too much movement in the seat, so yeah, ended up having to deciding to pit, and probably ended up causing a yellow flag by doing my best David Coulthard Adelaide 1995 impression, and probably having the most embarrassing accident it's possible to have. Apart from that guy in the Nürburgring 24 Hours a few years ago who into the pit wall attenuator, but man actually at least had the excuse of the bonnet was stuck open and he couldn't actually see where he was going, so
yeah, I was just about to mention that rang a bell for me.
Yes, what has gone down as arguably one of the most memed and embarrassing accidents ever to be caught on camera during a motor race. As they say, GG, WP, etc., etc.
Or this year at the Canada Grand Prix where Tsunoda went a bit too hot exiting out of the pits. Like, that's also the thing, like, which makes it even worse in my opinion. Like, it was such an unforced error there. He had no reason to be this quick out of the pits.
Yeah. Still, at least it's better than it was back in the 90s when the pit lane basically fed right onto the racing line for turn one. Having an accident there in 96. Basically rejoined the circuit and promptly ended up having a collision almost instantly. So at least they've improved that, but yes, that is still highly embarrassing for Tsunoda. Indeed. Dahlgren battling away with a Mercedes that's actually a lap down, so we'll not for position, it's fair to say. Maybe Varga? Varga's showing... Oh no, Varga's showing in P15 at the moment, so... Yeah, mind you, Dahlgren and the whole... Well, pretty much everyone above Dahlgren, to be fair. Gomez, Shipston, Brown, Mackie, Warden, and Wood haven't pitted yet. Although, as I say that, Schuller promptly dives into the pits. The old commentator's curse at its finest.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, he could have gone another lap extra, but like, as you can see, the pit window closes in 2 minutes and 15 seconds, and normally, like, what I would do in this situation is pit as in the same lap as Schuller, because like you never know when you could have a spin at some of the corners, go wide, he'd have an accident with the sausage curbs, and then you might be out of the pit window, and then you'll be in big trouble and possibly lose the race because of it. And since Schuller has like 7 or 8 seconds of a gap towards Crawford Brown, I think he can afford to take that unquote risk.
Speaking of taking a risk, Crawford Brown and Tom Shipson are both still actually yet to pit. Crawford has 15.5 seconds almost on Shipston. I'm trying to see roughly where the number 3 is on track. Okay, so Crawford Brown is currently on the back straight, halfway down the back straight, so he'll make it. Should make it quite easily. Shipston is going to be cutting it really quite fine. It's going to be very, very close actually as to whether Shipston's going to make it in on time. But then again, it's a very bold call needed by the team, given that both, well, Shipston's got absolutely acres of clear track. So the next car in front of him is actually Crawford Brown, and Crawford's got a relatively clear run as well by the looks of things. Oh, excuse me. So that's going to be quite beneficial. Crawford Brown coming in with 24 seconds to go. So yeah, Shipston should just about make it in the next with about 10 seconds or so left, I imagine.
Right in the corner right now, I think.
Yep, so he should be showing now. There we go, 11 seconds go. The old student trick of last-minute assignment hand-ins. I think the visa supervisor said that he had a student once who submitted an assignment 5 seconds before the deadline. Whether it was intentional, either way, he actually has the printout screened, and that's Hahn getting involved. Dahlgren keeping his foot in, believing he's done nothing wrong.
I don't think so. He was.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you, but he was alongside going into the corner and just kept on steering into him. And the track is wide enough for 2 cars, so like just looking at it this one time, I would put the majority of the blame towards Dahlgren. Yeah, so Dahlgren still in P11, Monk's Road moving up into P12. As a result, Hahn down in P13, and perhaps with a sense of injustice there, and having to do a bit of holding off now actually from Nemcovski. There's only 0.3 of a second in it between them. Haynes getting past Tarantino at the same time. Well, Tarantino really closing up on Haynes as well, heading out the final corner. But yeah, it was one of those incidents where I haven't got a replay, unfortunately, but could be an interesting one come Monday evening in the steward's room. And believe you me, that one is going to get looked at, I think. I mean, the fact the whole thing was actually caught live on camera has probably helped Philip Hahn's case for putting in a report to the stewards. But yeah, Dahlgren might be watching the stream back later and probably might be looking back at it thinking, what on earth was I doing? Yeah. Hahn's actually pulled a little bit away from Nemcovski in the McLaren now. I think it's just as Hahn was rejoining right actually at the timing split. There's a car off at the final corner as well. Also, like something that I wanted to mention, Monk's Rope is Martin Schaefer, so
Oh, okay.
yeah, something happened with his game and it took his Steam name. You want to know why he chose the name Monk's Rope?
Why?
Since Martin is a person who's really into motorbikes and he was looking for some of the suits the other day, and one of the colors was Monk's Rope, which is a very dark red, and he was just making a joke out of it and called himself like that.
Oh, fair enough. Cheers.
To be fair, it's quite a nice looking color.
It is indeed, yes. There's, I think the car stopped at the side of the track. Might be the 69, which I think is Gianni Lenz. So I think something has happened to his car. Something of some description's happened, because either way, it shouldn't be parked up on the outside of the final corner. So whether he's had a technical issue on his end, I'm not sure.
No, Johnny Lenz is number 7 car. It must
Oh,
be
sorry,
someone
you're
else.
right. Sorry, yeah.
Was watching.
Oh, sorry, yes, you're right. I saw Lens and it's the drive-through for track limits. Sorry, yeah, you're right. It is Kurt Hodgson in the Lexus, who started well up the field in both races, and well, it never rains, but it absolutely pours. For him, unfortunately, he's had a promising qualifying session, and just almost every single possible thing that could have happened. I mean, short of getting a stop and go 30 or getting disqualified, pretty much anything that could have happened, unfortunately, has for Kurt. Mackie there battling with Nigel Wood in the Ferrari. Something which I haven't actually said tonight, I don't think, because it was Mackie and Warden battling away earlier on. So heading into the final corner now. There's the battle coming through there. There's 13 Audi. There's Hodgson's car parked up at the side of the circuit. This battle still side by side, heading into the S's now. Really interesting to see if we get both of the new versions of the Porsche and the Ferrari actually coming to ACC this year. I'll be interested to see if we do or not, because both of these cars have since been superseded.
I think the new Porsche, the Lamborghini Evo, and the Ferrari will be part of the next update, along with the GT2 cars.
Ooh.
This is as far as I
Yes.
know, but unfortunately the McLaren 720S Evo won't be there. We will need to wait for Assetto Corsa 2 to come out for that, I think.
I think so, yeah, because the McLaren Evo was only announced relatively recently, actually. I don't think it's actually raced as such yet, whereas the other three, the Lambo, the Porsche, and the Ferrari have. Meanwhile, it has been a race of absolute, complete and utter domination once again from Radek Schuller. Goes past the stricken Lexus of Kurt Hodgson and takes the win in 2 here at Circuit of the Americas. It's going to be Crawford Brown coming home in second place.
He knows. Now you can see Hodgson moving on. I think he just ran out of fuel and waited for the leader to cross the line.
Okay, that might explain that. Cheers. Eddie Warden's in third. Nathaniel Shirley in fourth, as Tom Shipston coming home in fifth place, also in the Lexus. There's Nigel Wood, Ian Mackey, Hugo Gomez just crossing the line there in the background. There's Todor Kostadinov in the BMW. Damien rounding out the top 10 for Lamborghini. Magnus Dahlgren coming home in 11th place, but probably going to be getting investigated by the stewards. Philip Hahn did well to close the gap to just 3.5 tenths. And After that, coming together on track, Nemtsovsky's in 13th. Schaefer is in 14th, then Varga, Damien Lowe, Dave Crew, Mad Al, Max Haynes, Jakub Tarantino, Chris Brooks, Seb Tarantovic, Xavier Eugeni, Miko Sky, and then Kevin Shepherd in another one of the Lexuses. And speaking of which, we can have a good look at Kevin Shepherd in his car now. Then there's Matt Sherblum as well, a little bit further back. And speaking of which, we can also have a look at Sherblum in the McLaren, car number 555, heading through the stadium as the sun sets here at Cota. Yes, I know my antivirus has expired. Why do you need to tell me? Sodding race brawl.
Yeah, but as usual, Schuller wins another race this season. So maybe on the next round in Watkins Glen, someone will be able to get the better of him. Hopefully,
yes.
It's me.
Yeah, I was going to say.
So it doesn't get as boring as the last Formula 1 season. So I was just about to say Max Verstappen wins again out of force of habit.
Yes, I was going to say at least there's no need to worry about over with the with this compared to the Formula 1 season either. Yeah. Oh, in case you just heard a bit banging about there, that was me having to get out of my chair quite quickly because I've just got cramp in my leg.
The Verstappen references just keep coming.
Yes, the oh, I do apologise. I should add that I just. Oh, that's better. Yeah, sorry. So the next round, a 70-minute race at next week. Did I just say weekend?
I don't know. I was busy answering Crawford Brown. He was telling me that he very much missed racing against me.
Oh.
And he's asking me if everything is alright. So I just need to answer him really quick because he actually cares about me.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sorry. Yes.
Yeah, next week is a 70-minute race at Watkins Glen.
Oh, cheers, Nate. That was the voice of Nate Newcomer for hosting the live stream and for setting up the stream this week as well. We've got a few events coming up. We've got the Race Room Mini League on Thursday night. We don't actually know what cars or track, but it could be some interesting Automobilista 2 Group C Championship in a few days' time as well. That's going to be some fun and games indeed. A couple of weeks' time, we've got the next round of the DTM Meisterschaft, which is going to be at the Hungaroring. Previous round was just last weekend, in fact, at Lausitz. The Automobilista 2 Championship is actually the final round where they are going to be taking the big Group C cars around Bathurst.
Oh boy.
Yes, Group C cars, Bathurst. Oh, what can possibly go wrong? The sign-ups, I should add, are also already open for the Endurance Championship beginning on March the 25th with a 6-hour race at Barcelona. That's going to be good fun indeed. Before we get to the Silverstone 8 hours, the 10 hours of Spa, and then the charity event this year in November, which is going to be at Bathurst, which is going to be good fun indeed. And of course, next week we are racing at Watkins Glen in the Constructors Championship Season 9. Well, it's another cracking week's worth of racing here in the Constructors Championship. My Marco for joining me in the commentary box this evening. Thanks to Nate Newcomer for hosting the live stream and for getting everything set up this week. I've been Rob Lomas, and as always, it's bye for now.